Welcome. You are about to take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition show. For the next hour, allow her to prepare you in becoming a magnet for a profound love-infused relationship by identifying and focusing on solutions through love. Awaken the light within and let your essence shine. And now, here's Deborah Beauvais on Love by Intuition, all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, mes amis. And yes, here I am, Deborah Beauvais. As usual, I am the founder and owner of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. And if you're tuning in for the first time, we are a Boston-based, internet syndicated radio station. With all the bells and whistles, you can listen to us all over the world, wherever you are. You can ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7. You can listen in your cars, all those good things. So check us out. It's Dream Visions, all one word, with an S on the end, the number 7, radio.com. This is a live show, and Bob is in the house, ready to put your call through. So our number here is 833-220-1200. Again, 833-220-1200. Well, I have an outstanding young man who has accomplished so much and is on his mission, and his name is Robert Paylor. He is author of Paralyzed to Powerful. He is a professional speaker, a Tedx speaker, and on May 6, 2017, Robert was competing televised in a collegiate rugby national championship. And before he knew it, just a minute into the game, a player performed an illegal move that left Robert motionless on the field, unable to move or feel anything below his neck. The doctor said that he would never walk, and we're going to get into this because he is. And so without further ado, Robert, welcome to the show.
Deborah, thank you so much for having me, and nobody can see it, but I'm just blushing after that introduction, so excited to be here today.
And it's an honor to have us, and as I've said to you, everyone listening, Robert is a special soul, and I usually can feel people and know that we're all special, and we're all unique, and we all have our purpose and gifts that we come to Earth, I believe, and find those and then walk that path. But there's something special about you, and you can feel it. It's tangible. So I'm honored, and I truly mean that. And we just want to get into all the gifts that he has to show for everyone out there, no matter what is going on in your life. And his book is called Paralyzed to Powerful. So let's get into the beginning right there when your parents are there and you're on the field. What were you thinking?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's hard to really describe because it was just such a cataclysmic change that happened in my life. I mean, in one moment, I went from a D1 athlete competing in a rugby national championship. Like, my body, my physicality is like my sense of pride and purpose in life, and then it's just gone. And I think one way that I explain it, which probably doesn't make any sense, but sort of tells a little bit how it felt, is it's like if we just closed our eyes right now, opened them, and we found ourselves in a different country. I mean, it's just that big of a change in one's life. And I really felt like I was stepping into something new. I mean, I immediately just started questioning all of my goals, thinking, am I ever going to be able to play rugby again? Am I going to go back to school? Am I going to be able to see my friends and walk across that stage? And I'm looking further down the road. I'm thinking, am I ever going to be able to have a job? Am I ever going to get married? You know, who would want to date me? Who would want to get married to me in this situation? And I mean, I was just thinking, am I ever going to feed myself again, walk? It was a very dark moment. And as you mentioned, my parents being there, that hurt. And that was really the most difficult moment of this entire injury, was laying there on that field and them being there right beside me. I always tried to make them proud in my life, and there was nothing I could do to show strength, but they've just been there for me every second. And really, it's amazing how things have turned out since then, but every time I go back to that moment, it was just hard, and there's no way around that.
Right. I mean, anyone would be crushed, but at that time you were 20, and
right.
to have all of that in front of you, and the excitement of the game and where you were going in life, it would crush anyone.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is, to your, to the best of you, to have this happen, you're 6'5", you're in better shape than any other human being, and you are, you're goal-oriented, all of that. It has to have played in your journey of healing.
Oh, it's played a very significant role, and my doctor confirmed that on the second day. So when I got my first initial prognosis, I had broken my neck, so I'm on the field. I can't move or feel anything below my collarbone, but I'm totally clear and conscious in my head. It's just like being trapped in your body. And I go and I get my first diagnosis, and after I take an MRI, CT scan, MRI, my doctor says, "Robert, you will never walk again. You will never move your hands, and we're going to do our best so that one day you can do something like pick up a piece of pizza and bring it to your face. And if you can just feed yourself, you made it. You beat all the odds." And he recommends spinal fusion surgery to me, which he explains was a potentially life-threatening surgery. I was already having a fever of 103 degrees at that point. I peaked up to 105 at one point because my nervous system was shutting down. It had been completely broken, and my brain was disconnected from the vast majority of my body. And add on top of that it's just a very high-risk region of your body to be doing a surgery, and if you're just a little bit off, things get bad quick. And he told me I had 1 hour to decide whether or not I would go into the spinal fusion surgery. And I really went back to that athlete's mindset in a lot of ways, that I was able to compete for the #1 collegiate rugby program in America. On that day, we won our 31st national championship, and since then, we've had a total of 34 national championships over with the Cal rugby program. So when the odds were stacked against us, and when we were down late in the game, we didn't just give up and say, "Oh, that's it." No, we worked harder. We really, we doubled down in those moments. Those are the moments that differentiated us, and it was really taking that same mindset and applying it to a very different scale and a very different challenge, but just still that intentional effort to where it's like, if there is an infinitesimally small chance that I'm going to be in the top 1% of this, I'm going to give that top 1% of effort. I'm going to give everything I have to make this happen. So it was taking that very similar mindset and approaching it in a new way.
Yeah, many people, probably myself included, wouldn't have the stamina or I know I have great inner strength, but to come from that place and then work so hard that through the pain, the tears, the setbacks, even in the hospital when everything happened, you ended up with pneumonia right after surgery. And that in itself could have killed you, and yet you fought. But I think that rugby mindset and faith, and your parents and the doctors and all of that all played a part in you coming around and going down your journey, and you even graduated standing up. Right.
Yeah, those are all just such amazing things, and I'm so lucky in a lot of ways. I'm very blessed, and there's a lot of people who work just as hard as I have, and they haven't had maybe the same degree of physical recovery. I think a lot of that's the support. Some of it's the severity of the injury that matters a great deal. But I think a lot of those things we don't have a lot of control over. the one thing we do have control over are those daily decisions we make every day to keep moving forward, and no one else can make that decision but us. And what really helped me since day one was a word of advice I got from my spiritual director. As you mentioned, my faith is very important to me. And when I was getting ready to decide whether or not to go into that surgery, I was really making what could be a decision that would determine whether or not I would wake up the next day. So I really needed to wrap my faith in this decision. I call my spiritual director. I tell him about what happened, and I'm asking for his prayers and advice. And he gives me this piece of advice that really set a platform that helped me to keep moving forward from then on out. And he said, throughout this journey, there's going to be a lot of things that you just can't control, but the one thing you always have control over is your mindset. So your positivity, your ambition, your willingness to wake up every day and take this on is up to you. And this injury can't take that away from you. So in that moment, I didn't have a lot. I didn't have the odds on my side or some doctor saying that everything was going to be okay or signs of life showing up in my body. But I had that decision to keep moving forward. I maintained that while I battled pneumonia. In that moment, I couldn't swallow either. I mean, I was 60 pounds in a month, but I kept moving forward because I just came back to that control your mindset, Robert. If you want to get better, you need to do these breathing treatments. You need to get into rehabilitation. You just make that decision to show up and give it your best. And it's just been that consistency over time that I think has really aided in these wonderful successes.
I mean, you even had a visit in the hospital from Bill Murray to remind you to laugh, even in the worst situations. To look at something, even it's yourself, with a little chuckle. So you went on to Craig Hospital, and the staff there from the book, they sound amazing. And speaking of amazing people, your mother's a rock star, and what she has done and been there for you, even taking out the phlegm and all the things that one would do. But when it's your child, you do everything from your heart and compassion. So I get all wrapped up like I'm there, and that's I want to say the way that you wrote the book is excellent, because you pulled people in order to really experience what you're experiencing, and not everyone can do that with writing. So I commend you on that, Robert.
I appreciate that because, on one hand, it's a very unrelatable experience that I've been through. I mean, it's been difficult, and while spinal cord injuries aren't necessarily unheard of, they're not very common. It's not something that most of us really think about or have encountered in our lives and those we know. It happened to me, and it's been through this challenge that I've been able to see how it's given me many gifts and perseverance and a new perspective on life. And that's a gift and perspective I can share with others. That this injury really took a lot away from me, but it gave me this ability to impact others. I would not have this ability to this degree if it weren't for the injury. So it's so important to help people really see that happening to themselves. I mean, I've grown up was just an all-American kid, growing up in the Sacramento Valley, playing sports and going to school, just, very common traditional goals for my life. And I think a lot of people can relate to those goals in the path of life. And then in one moment, because of something I couldn't control, it was gone. But it was so important for me to really put people in the room to experience that. Because while I said this injury has given me a lot, that doesn't mean that I recommend anybody go out there and break their necks so they can have what I have. What you need is empathy, and really put yourself in those shoes. I think that sincere empathy is a bridge that connects us to the struggles and the lessons of others. That was a really big focus of this book.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And you have added to that, you have the fortitude and you have your mental diet. So let's talk about that. I know we were going in the direction of your rehab, but let's talk for a minute about what is your mental diet.
Yeah, our mental diet is the quality of the information and interactions that we're having throughout a day. So, when we think of a physical diet, we understand it to be, if you put nasty into your body, you're going to get nasty out of your body. But if you fuel your body with good food, then your body is going to perform better. And I think the same thing goes for our minds, that we ought to have a real intentional audit of when negativity is creeping its way into our mindset, to be able to identify that. I think just identifying it helps us to sort of lessen the effect that it has on our mindset in that negative way, bringing us down. And we need to have things that we're doing on a routine basis to feed ourselves with that positive information. And I think a really good way for us to do this is by bookending our days with positive information. So that starts off with having a really good morning routine, getting up at a consistent time and making sure that you had enough sleep, and then having things that you're doing that are giving yourselves that positivity. So that can be podcasts, that can be an audiobook, or you're reading a book, or you wake up 10 minutes earlier and you enjoy your coffee outside when the weather's nice. For me personally, I make sure I have 20 to 30 minutes of just dedicated prayer time when I start out my day. So I'm thinking about all the things that I'm grateful for. I'm thinking about things that I'm doing today and asking for help where I need that help, and just asking for this ability to use my life to make a real impact on others' lives. My struggles, my blessings, I want to use all of it for the good of other people. I spend that 20 minutes and to 30 minutes in prayer doing that every morning. And I think when we go to bed at the end of the night, we ought to kind of have a similar mental inventory to think of the things that we were grateful for on that day. And not just spend time thinking about all those things that we have to do tomorrow or the things that didn't go our way today. Not giving power to those things that bring us down. We're just going to think of those things that we were grateful for. Let that kind of put you to sleep when you're going through your just kind of nightly routine with your head on the pillow. I think that as we do these things over time, we just become more positive people and feeding that mental diet, and we become more able to take on our challenges in our lives.
Exactly. There's so much to talk about when it comes to the mind. And as we, pay attention to really who we are and listening to what we're thinking or saying, we can get a good understanding of what is going around in that mind. And we can choose. And this is one of the things, no one can touch our minds. No one can control our minds, just us alone. So we can choose which way we want to go. And it's hard. Even without a disability, you can wake up in the morning and not feel 100%, or you just have a non-positive attitude. But you can choose love and start talking to your mind and yourself, and you can shift it around. And I know myself, when I first awakened, there was a higher purpose to all. I started really listening to what I was thinking, and I was shocked. So if it's negativity, if it's woe me, I'm not good enough, you need to clean that up in order to have a fulfilling life. And
You do, and I think, like you said, that awareness builds over time as you continue to build on it. That if you don't have this epiphany moment when you first really start to try and have that sort of mental audit, mental diet, that awareness, then that's okay, and that's expected in a lot of ways. You're training a new muscle, and you're doing something that you might not have been very intentional about, going to this point. But I just promise you, and you can definitely attest to this, that as we continue to have that awareness over time, we become more in tune with that voice, and we become more in tune with being able to have that better perspective, gratitude in life. I don't think that we can control whether we're feeling happy or whether we're feeling sad, but I do believe that we can continue to persevere, and we can try to make an intentional focus on those things that we're grateful for in our lives, and that's just a muscle that builds over time.
Right. Well said. So now let's talk about the miracles that you have had. Let's start with the one that you were really finding out, like going to Lourdes. You went there hoping and trusting that you would heal completely, but you actually met people that were unbelievable, like the gentleman who has ALS is the one, with the help of another, pushing you up a hill in a wheelchair. I mean, what, if that isn't love and compassion, what is?
It's amazing. I mean, that trip in Lourdes really gave me true, strong things. I think one is a really strong sense of perspective, and the other is peace. And to give people some context from what Lourdes is, it's a place that's known of miraculous healing. And I got invited by this group called the Order of Malta to go over there. And there was 25,000 people from all over the world that converged through this order to Lourdes at the same time. So I'm really being brought into something much bigger than myself. And of course, as I'm going there, I am hoping for a 100% complete physical recovery from my spinal cord injury. I want to go bathe in the waters of Lourdes, and I want to walk right on out and start running sprints around this town. And I go over there, and I do bathe in the waters, and nothing happens from that physical standpoint. I'm the same person. But it was really in my interior, in my soul, that real work was being done. And it was through the people around me, where I was meeting people who are saying, Robert, I have stage 4 cancer, tumors throughout my body, and my doctor tells me that I have months, weeks left on this earth. What I would give to just have more time. And there's this other gentleman with ALS who says, I move less and less and less every single day to an eventual reality where I won't even be able to open my eyes, but I will be completely conscious and aware of everything that's going on in my head. What I would give to just spend time with my wife, with my children, with my friends. And I'm listening to these people pour their hearts out around me. I'm just thinking, remind me not to complain about anything ever again, because these people would give anything to be in my situation, as difficult as it may be. And I was having a conversation with a priest there where we came up with this phrase, compared to what? So we'd say, wow, I'm tired, but compared to what? Or there's a lot that I'm going through right now, but compared to what? There's so much that I can do, and there's so much that I do have. Now, comparison can be very unhealthy. It just depends how we use it. If we just dismiss our challenges, then we ignore them, they will never go away. I think that's a very unhealthy thing to do, and I don't want us using this phrase that way. What way I do want us to use it is to put our challenges into perspective, to realize, yes, the challenge is there, but I can overcome this, and there's so much that I can still be grateful for in my life. So that's kind of the first thing that Lourdes gave me. And the second is we were going through this exercise called the Stations of the Cross, and we were kind of corkscrewing our way up this mountain that had a steep gravel road, completely wheelchair inaccessible. And I had a small group of people who volunteered themselves to push me up this hill, one of which was a person who had just underwent chemotherapy, and he only had one functioning lung. And he was always really upbeat, but you could tell that he was fighting for his life. And here he is with these other volunteers who I had only known for about a week in my entire life, just pouring their hearts out so I could have this experience. And we eventually all met together, and it was the sick and injured people from this trip that got together to kind of debrief on our last day. And keep in mind, this was 1 year to the day from my injury. So it was just a big day for me in general. And they come over to me, and it's my turn to talk. And I start talking about this experience that I had, especially with these people who helped me get up this hill and everything and have that experience together. And I said for the first time that I might not walk again, and I actually meant it. And I had said it prior to that to just kind of get nurses and therapists off my back, because if you say, well, I'm going to walk again, then they'll tamper down that, and they'll say, like, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And I just didn't want that in my mindset. I was like, this is happening. I full-heartedly believe that this is happening. I won't accept anything else. But go back to France, and I say, I might not walk again. And tears start coming down my face as I just let that sit in. And I said, but I'm going to be a great man, and I'm going to live a great life, because I have these living angels here around me to pick me up and keep me moving forward. I can experience the fullness of life because of these beautiful, beautiful people that have been placed in my life and pour out their generosity and their love to me. And it gave me so much peace that I didn't always have to fight, and I didn't feel like I had to figure everything out to have meaning and purpose in my life. That it was these beautiful souls who are there for me that gave that to me. And those are some pretty strong miracles that I received on that trip.
Yes, powerful. That is so rich in healing your mind, body, soul, just with those words that you have shared, and recognizing that this is a miracle, and what you experienced was real.
Yeah.
So, well, this is a time we need to take our break. Everyone stay with us. More with Robert Paylor, and it's still time. You still have time to call in, so grace us with a call or two. Bob is in the house, and the number is 833-220-1200.
Experience a different yet profound healing with Reconnective Healing. Includes yet expands beyond any and all known forms of energy healing. The Reconnective Healing spectrum is comprised of the full healing and evolutionary continuum of energy, light, and information. It allows for healings that are not just physical, not just mental, not just emotional, yet go beyond that to bring healing that includes the evolution of your very being and essence. Deborah Beauvais, trained and certified by world-renowned Dr. Eric Pearl, offers appointment hours at Seekonk Family Chiropractic in Seekonk, Massachusetts. For questions or to set up both distance or local sessions, call Deborah at 508-431-1959. Again, 508-431-1959. Or go to lovebyintuition.com. That's lovebyintuition.com.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to DreamVision7Radio.com.
After narrowly surviving the attack on Sandy Hook Elementary, first-grade teacher Caitlin Roy DeBellis was left searching for answers that would never come. Eventually, she chose to focus on questions that could be answered. How do I make sure this tragedy doesn't define us? How do we get our control back? Those two questions led her to found the 501c3 nonprofit organization Classes for Classes. When gifts poured into their classroom, she decided they would help someone else by paying it forward and being kind. This developed into a social network which allows K-8 classrooms to connect so that every student in the United States can learn these crucial lessons. Classes for Classes' mission is to build students' social-emotional intelligence by connecting them to care. All C4C projects are crowdfunded. Any teacher in the U.S. can visit classesforclasses.org. That's classes, the number 4, classes.org. Sign up today.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids Children's Book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
We're talking with Robert Paylor. He is an author of Paralyzed to Powerful. He's a professional speaker, a Tedx speaker as well, 2 times. And his book, again, is Paralyzed to Powerful. And I believe this book would be excellent from like 12 and up. I think that everyone listening, and pass it on, to buy a few copies, because this will inspire a 12 and 13-year-old. They may be at a time, which most kids are at that age, trying to figure out what direction they would go in. And this is an inspiration. It really details what you can do with your mindset and really set your goals to prosper in whatever area. And so I really feel as though everyone should buy and give them as a gift. So do that, please. So, Robert, can we talk a little bit about Talon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly? He was one of the people that you changed his world, just being his friend.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, the name is Talon, and he just changed my life in so many ways, really helping me find my purpose in my life more so than, I don't know, maybe any person I know. And, it all started out, we just met at a rugby camp. When I was playing rugby at Cal, I used to come back in the summers to Sacramento, where I learned to play rugby, and I'd coach youth rugby camps. Age range was like 10 to 14 years old, and there was Talon. And he was one of the smaller kids on the field, but, he played with heart, and, everyone kind of roots for someone like that, right? And I remember I would give him the ball and pick him up so he could go score. So, imagine me, 6'5", D1 athlete, bobbing and weaving in between 10-year-olds so Talon could go have his moment. We shared this real bond. And it was around the time of my injury, about 5 days after, that my high school was hosting a prayer service for me to pray for my healing and pray for my strength. And then it's on this day that my dad shows me this picture on his phone of someone who I do not recognize, but he's obviously fighting for his life. His hair is white and thin. His body's just skin and bones. His skin is very pale. And my dad tells me that this kid is Talon. And Talon was fighting stage 4 cancer. And it was a part of this picture that his mom wrote a caption, and it read along the lines of, Talon wanted so badly to be at the prayer service to pray for Robert today, but had to be here in the hospital undergoing chemotherapy. And the message goes on further. It says this sentence that's seared into my soul. It just changed everything for me. And it said, stay strong and keep smiling, Robert. Your strength helps Talon stay strong too. Tears just poured out of my face, because I realized in that moment that overcoming this injury is not about me. It's about him. It's about inspiring all those people who gain that strength and positivity when I choose to fight another day. And I very much made a selfless commitment on that day that I will continue to persevere at this. I will get out of my wheelchair one day, or I will die trying, not just so I can go from point A to point B on my feet, but so that I can make a difference in others' lives and take what happened to me, which many people would think would be the worst thing that could ever happen to me, and breaking my neck, and I'm going to turn it into a gift. And that's a gift that I can share with other people. It all started there. And to complete Talon's story, it's just amazing the journey he went on. So he ended up beating that stage 4 cancer, which is, a miracle. And he goes back to school. He's doing his thing. And then he has another tumor pop up on his spinal cord. It paralyzes him. He can't walk. Doctor says he'll never walk again. And he decides, I'm going to fight this. I am going to walk again. And his mom would say that he'd be watching my rehab videos, and, you know, I'd be watching his stuff. So we're going on this journey together in a way. And he started walking again. Just amazing. And then it was about 4 years later in his battle with cancer that Talon did pass away. And it wasn't the cancer that got him. It was the radiation treatment and the damage that it had done to his lungs trying to get to the tumor on his spine that caused him to pass away. But he died a winner, and he died a fighter, and his spirit lives on in me and so many other people that will try to live like he did, selflessly. And I go back to that moment when I was in the hospital, and he wanted to be at that prayer service, but he had to be undergoing chemotherapy. And I think, here's a 15-year-old kid fighting for his life, and he's not thinking about himself. He's not praying for himself. He's praying for me. And I mean, Deborah, I think he's listening to our conversation right now, some way, somehow. And I mean, I try to share that story as much as I can. He's the most inspirational person I've ever met. He made such a difference in my life.
Yeah, it's very moving. And, you know, I feel as though to be here on earth and experience all the things. I mean, I believe that we come as choice and to learn and feel emotions and experiences so we can grow our souls. It's similar to all, just said in a different way. But the gift is realizing that there are many people that aren't able to stay on the earth because we're all going to go in one shape or form at some time. And for those of us that are living here, even if it's a challenge and it's a difficult, it's a privilege to be here and experience life on earth and to live fully for those that don't have the opportunity any longer. So I think that you're doing that for Talon and many others. You're actually doing that. And we have to remind ourselves of that because sometimes we get caught in our day-to-day responsibilities and everything that encompasses that. And really, it is a privilege to be here for however long we can.
It is, and I that's one of the if anybody asks me, like, what's your final piece of advice, I always go back to that life is a gift. And I was in a situation where, you know, I was taking a lot of those things for granted, where I expected to wake up every day. Why would I not? And then in this moment, so much is taken away from me, and my life is put in jeopardy, and it just showed me how fragile life is, how quickly it can change. And that's not reason for us to just put our bubble wrap on before we go outside and get out of our house. I think the real point of that is to realize how lucky we are, how blessed we are, to not just let days come and go, not really realizing all that we have. There really ought to be an appreciation for life as a true gift, and we need to use it like we've received a gift. You know, show gratitude for it. Try to get a smile on your face. I think that approach is something that very serious that this injury has taught me.
Well said. Well, I wanted to get into, because time goes by quickly, and you had an experience where you know, the truth is that it was an illegal move. You chose not to sue, and yet you found out what the truth of who some of those people were about because they weren't coming forthright with the exact truth. Do you think that it was because they didn't want to tarnish their name as far as you know, USA Rugby? Do you think, what was that about, do you think? Or is it just humans that aren't coming from their truth and living the truth and representing that?
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly the reasons for their inaction. And to just give a little more context for the listeners, what happened to me was entirely illegal. Basically, there was a player who wrapped his arm around my neck and drove my skull into the turf, which caused my forehead to slam against my chest and it snapped my neck. So we, of course, I mean, this was in the national championship game. It was nationally televised on NBC Sports. We clearly assumed that an investigation would ensue from USA Rugby, the sport's global governing body. Like you said, I didn't want to perform any sort of legal discourse. I don't think the person who broke my neck was trying to break my neck, per se. I just think he was trying to bring that maul down and stop us from scoring. And it just took a month before USA Rugby would even open an investigation. And then about 5 months later, they come back and they say, what happened to Robert was not penalizable by a red card offense. And they really tried to blame the whole thing on me. And they tried to say that because my head was below my shoulder level, I was the one committing a penalty, completely ignoring the fact that I was being wrenched down by my head, with someone's full force and full body weight. And, I mean, we were just so frustrated. As for the reason of them doing that, we'll never know. And, I mean, I got to think that on one hand, they're just sort of trying to brush this under the rug because it could have been, a publicity nightmare. And as they're trying to get more people into the sport of rugby, a player breaking their neck in a national championship on national television is not a good look for that, for people who are thinking about getting into the sport. But I think what they really should have done is say that this is what happened on that field is not rugby. It's completely illegal. Here's the ways that we're doubling down to make sure that this doesn't happen again in education and with our referees. There's so many ways that they could have and should have taken it to prevent this from happening to someone else. So we could not stop speaking up about this because I couldn't bear the thought that this sort of play wasn't being condemned. And then finally, we got pretty much what we hoped for in recognizing that it was a very flawed investigation and that measures would be taken to ensure that this doesn't happen to someone else. So such a bit of turmoil I had to deal with in a really difficult period of my life. But I'm happy that we got that because I love the game of rugby, and what happened to me was just not rugby.
Yeah, and so you learned forgiveness in a sense through that. And are you at peace with it? Like, do you feel at peace with the way they reacted and the untruth that they spoke of?
Yeah, I'm so at peace with it, and that was not an easy thing to do. And no. I think what was really difficult for me to forgive was maybe not so much their actions, because so much of it, I mean, what they did was kind of personal, but, a lot of it was professional context. It was really the player who broke my neck that I had a much more difficult journey of peace and forgiveness towards, because what happened was entirely illegal, and he's never reached out to me. And to this day, he's never said he's sorry.
Yes, and that just blows my mind, that he, all these years, 8 years, that he has not reached out, wrote a letter, showed up, called, and that would show what his soul is all about. And yeah, that's a hard one, and I agree with you. As much as that other situation with U.S. Rugby could be, say, politicized, but as far as the the young guy, I mean, it's just it just shows you their character, and unfortunately, I would like to think now that time has gone by, and someday he will reach out to you, and I'm going to hold that space for that to happen. He will reach out and apologize, not only for what happened, but that he has kept silent all this time, because I bet he's thinking about that every day of his life.
I can only imagine, and I really just had to ignore what he was or wasn't thinking in the beginning, because I was just thinking, here I am, I can't breathe, I can't eat, I can't shower myself, dress myself, I might never be able to again. And I just needed to really focus on moving forward. And I made a decision right away, right as soon as I saw the videos and photos of what had happened to me, that I'm going to forgive this person whether he's sorry or not. And even if I don't feel like it, I'm just going to say it. And
yes.
it was a total fake it till you make it kind of thing. But
right.
there was truth to it, that I wasn't giving power to that negativity. And over time, I could slowly heal and I could achieve that inner peace. So it gave me some time to reflect that this rage was doing nothing for me, and that forgiveness is not about just removing guilt from a person who does wrong to us. That forgiveness is really for ourselves. It's about receiving that internal peace and moving away from a negative situation in our lives. But it does take time, and it's most important when it's most difficult. But if we don't give words to those negative emotions that we feel, I guarantee you over time that it will slowly, that animosity will go down and you'll receive that inner peace. It's just always the right answer for us to take in our lives. I'm so happy that I did, because I've completely moved on and I'm able to see what's in front of me, what I have right now, not just thinking about those things that I've lost and those frustrations.
Exactly, yeah, because it can consume you, and people can hold on to that anger and pain for decades, and it can ruin their lives, not only emotionally but physically. Yeah. Well, we need to take our next break. Everyone stay with us. We'll be back more with Robert Paylor, and we're going to hear all the wonderful things that have happened with him. Stay with us.
Take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition Show, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Eastern. Our message is love in the purest form. The light within us all is a guide to recall our beginning, to learn to love self and humankind, and to feel the higher power of our own divinity. To attract love, one needs to be love. Come join us and step into this glorious vibration called love.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids Children's Book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times best-selling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through mayhem to miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
It's a child's job to play, to learn, and to have fun. It's an adult's job to keep them safe. Did you know that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18? Every day, families enter the Children's Advocacy Center because a child's courage to tell someone what happened to them. Keeping our children safe starts with a conversation. This is Michelle Aranger, Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center. Learn more on how to keep your child safe. Visit cacofbc.org. This message made possible by the Fall River Rotary Club.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
I wanted to mention, too, how I came to know Robert was actually through Sam Kabert, one of our newest hosts, and he's a podcaster, and his show is Soul Seeker, and you can hear it on Dream Vision 7, syndicated every Wednesday at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So check that out. If you'd like to get in touch with Robert, you can go right on his site. It's Robert Paylor, Paylor, robertpaylor.com. And again, get the book and buy a number of them. I'm actually going to purchase a couple of them and give as gifts and pass the show on. And listen to it again, because you always end up receiving something extra every time you listen, and by giving and saying, go listen to this or listen to this particular show. This is how everyone gets to learn and grow and feel empowered themselves. So Robert, I wanted to mention, because they just are excellent people, both Coach Clark and Coach Billups. All that they have done, I mean, you can tell they come from their hearts, even though they're training for everyone to win the game. And I know rugby can be tough. One of my daughters actually played girls rugby back in college. Yeah, and at UMass. Amherst. Yeah, so I was talking with her about you and your experience and your journey, and that was some years ago. I think it was a little more than 10 years ago, and it was new back. It was more than that, because she's been married longer than that. I'm going to say 20 years ago, and girls rugby was fairly new back then.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's so wonderful. Yeah. What a cool sport it is. And you bring up Coach Clark and Coach Billups. What amazing people. And I dedicated this book to my family, to my wife, and to them. They hold such a special place in my story. And the reason I'm speaking today is because of Coach Clark and his ability to sit down with me for months, really practicing this art of speaking and spending time thinking, what are those distilled lessons I can give to people to help them with the challenges they face in their lives. And I would not have this career and passion and purpose in speaking if it weren't for him. And you go over to Coach Billups, who's the associate head coach of the Cal Rugby program and our strength and conditioning coach. He was with me 4 or 5 days every week in the gym, helping me walk again. And he's the second winningest rugby coach in American rugby history. So we got number 1 with Coach Clark, number 2 with Coach Billups. It's like Nick Saban from Alabama football being in the weight room working out with a player 4 or 5 days a week after an injury. It's just unheard of. It's unheard of. But he did. And the reason I'm walking today is because of him. And the reason I'm speaking today is because of Coach Clark. It's just, it's amazing the success they've had in winning national championships and being the best rugby program in the nation. But it's clear that their motivations aren't just about winning trophies. It's about developing good men through the sport of rugby. Those national championships are just a byproduct, and they live that mission in their actions every day.
Nice. Yeah. I really took to them reading the book of all, because a lot of what they did, they didn't have to. But like you're saying, they're not just about awards. They're about really cultivating a group of men that can go out there and make a difference in whatever way they can.
Right.
So that was nice. So now you're married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us about, what is your average day like? Are you up and working out and doing your rehab every morning for 3 hours? Or what are you doing? And are you walking now more than the 400 feet or yards?
Yeah, it's amazing. So I am here, a little bit over 8 years post-injury, and I am staying on it. The hard work continues to pay off. So In my mobility standpoint, right now I still spend the vast majority of my time in a wheelchair, and it's my walking right now is still therapeutic and exercise based. It's not so much like functional. I don't just walk around the house just to get around. I use my wheelchair for that. But I work out after we get off the show here. I'm gonna go over into my walker. I'm gonna walk as far as I can. My best now is 500 yards. And that's something that's new now. I had that personal record pretty recently. And
congratulations.
Thank you. I walk as far as I can, and then I get over to my bed, and I stand up from that seated position as many times as I can, just repping it out. And then I work on my balance. And by the end of that, I'm probably about an hour to an hour and a half into the workout for just a normal workout, and my legs are pretty tuckered out, so we call it there. But, I mean, I think it shows the power of that consistency, that when I was first diagnosed with my injury, they said your optimal window of recovery is your first 6 to 9 months. After that, your total window of recovery is in your first 2 to 3 years. After that, your recovery window just kind of closes, and you shouldn't expect to see any progress. And here I am, just a couple weeks ago, setting a new personal best from 400 yards straight to 500 yards straight. I think it just goes to show that if you give that consistent effort over time, you will improve. And I mean, I'm staying on it. There is nothing that will get me to stop. And so I'm very lucky that this hard work continues to pay off.
Yes, well, you're committed, as I have said, and you've got that fortitude. And I'm sure, knowing that you have the woman of your life,
Oh, yeah.
And that love that really propels someone to continue. And I really see you walking. I kind of wish that the doctors wouldn't say that. Sometimes I think it makes someone work harder, but I think there's a lot of people that just give up because of the way the doctor conveys the information. What do you feel? Yeah. How do you feel about that? Would you have rather... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, I completely agree with you. And I had a real dichotomy of doctors when it came to delivering that bad news. So my first doctor, of course, said, Robert, you'll never walk again. You'll never move your hands. You'll be lucky if you can feed yourself. And really, he had his best intentions in mind. He didn't want to give me false hope. He didn't want me to get my expectations up just to one day have them crushed, because 99 times out of 100, he probably would have been right. And I think what most people receive in that situation is false hopelessness, that they hear some doctor who has spent their entire life diagnosing a situation like this just tell them that there's no hope for them. And it doesn't matter what they do, that this is just how it is. And maybe they could get better, but they just didn't have that drive and hope that was necessary to keep persevering. They had nothing to look forward to, no vision, no hope. And when I was at my second hospital over at Craig Hospital, I think they played their cards perfectly. They said, Robert, these spinal cord injuries are catastrophic. They are very difficult. But we don't know where you're going to progress from here.
But they gave you... I love the way he said it, because it's instill hopes, and it's the options are open, and you never know.
That's right.
God only knows. Doctors don't. But anyway, I want to take this time to thank you so much for joining us. I am thrilled that you came on the show. It'll replay. It'll just keep going, gifting everyone. So I thank you for taking the time, Robert, and many wishes for your marriage and your family to come.
Thank you so much, Deborah. This was just such a blessing to be on the show, and I hope everyone enjoyed. But thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. And again, everyone, go to robertpaylor.com and buy those books. Until we come together again the next time, au revoir.
Are you seeking a clearer path to love? Then tune in to the Love by Intuition show next week. All designed to your highest good. To contact Deborah Beauvais, owner of Empowered Connections, call her at 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. 823 or link on to lovebyintuition.com. Remember, we are all one, and we are all part of the miracle of love.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.